So back as part of our guest lecture series, is Chef Brian Cook. Usually one of our best lectures of the year. Very engaging, very exciting. A little bit different today because our freshmen are tied up with testing. So this is upper class only, which we don't usually have that for our guest lecture, right? We usually have it like freshmen, sophomores. So this is sophomores, juniors, seniors today. So a little bit different level of audience for Mr. Cook. And I know it's going to be great. So without further ado, I turn it over and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Before we start, this is an interactive lecture. So realistically, any questions you have, just raise your hand. Let me know. You can interject at any particular point so that you don't miss your questions. I'm super engaging, and I just want to be able to give you whatever information that I know as a small business owner, local in the community. So if we have any people who are aspiring to open or start their own businesses, hopefully it can give you an aspect of what my journey has been so that you guys can get a better understanding. All right? Everybody cool? So my name is Chef Brian Cook. Cook is actually my last name. It's pretty ironic, and that becomes a great conversational piece when I'm doing any type of presentation or doing any type of cooking class or cooking demonstration. Um, I'll read off the lectures or I'll read off the cards. However, you can, like I said, just jump in and interact whenever you like. I have trained chef. I've been in business for over 30 years. I've worked in many different settings. I worked in hotels. I worked in restaurants. I have three young, well, not three young, but I have three kids who obviously, not obviously, but they went to North. We had many battles over here on the soccer field. They all played soccer, but I wanted to be a present dad. So I left the hotel and restaurants because they were late night hours. And I went into retirement communities in which hours where I was usually getting out about 7 or 8 o'clock, so it still allowed me to not miss their games and things like that. In 2000, and I did that for almost 30, almost 20, 21 years. Simultaneously, while working in that type of a setting, I started my catering business part-time, and that was in 2008. I could only do it part-time because I worked a full-time job. But I knew that I wanted to be able to share my culinary talents. I knew I wanted to be able to cook. And I have to tell you that it wasn't easy in the beginning, but I always had the security of having a full-time job. So if it didn't necessarily work, I was like, okay. But in December of 2021, I took a chance and I bet on myself, and I stand here before you today, being a full-time business owner in my own catering business full-time for about the first 3 years that we're in now. We're in 2025. So yeah, I'm going on 3.5 years. I've been doing it full-time myself, and I'm super glad that I did. It was scary. It was definitely a tough decision to make, but it was one of the best decisions that I made. The challenges that come with being a small business owner, finding staff, trying to make sure you have payroll, trying to make sure you have consistent business. Those are all different challenges, and they're real challenges. But the freedom that comes with it, and the way to be creative, and the way to be able to come in and do even things like this, is something I wouldn't have been able to do at my regular full-time job. I got introduced to cooking while I was working during summer in college. I worked for um, a nursing home in college washing dishes, and I met a chef who was from overseas, and he basically was doing different techniques and different things that I had never seen before. So you see Chef Gordon Ramsay now, that's your marker. I met this guy in 2004, and he was a chef from Belgium. And all the things you see on TV, like in uh, what's the movie, the TV show? You guys know what it is. Not a chef. The one. What's that? What is it? Yeah, the bear. All that stuff like that that happens, that's real stuff that happens in the kitchens, throwing pots and pans, and just the energy, the because at that particular moment in time, the stress of trying to get everything out and do all those different things, that's a real thing. And I met a guy who was doing that in 2002, 2004, and I was so intrigued by what he did that I wanted to learn, and I wanted to be able to cook because I saw not only the passion that he had, but I saw with what he made, how that could affect people and what that could do for an individual. So I took notice. I started to work with him. I became a sous chef probably within 2 years. I went and got all my different certifications. I studied at the American Culinary Federation. I got all my certifications to be able to advance, and then I became the executive chef of a prestigious assisted living building in Jackson, and that was my first building that I opened. And I was a chef there for 20 some odd years, and then took over another building and had over 60 some odd employees. But as I said, it still allowed me to be able to coach soccer, and I began to be able to learn what it took to run a small business without being fully involved in it. This is my experience. So I was a sous chef, a senior cook, as I told you before. I was an executive chef, culinary dietary manager. I was a treasurer for the New Jersey chapter of Food Service Professionals. And I registered my business, and I'm saying this for the second time, in 2008, because I started in 2004 part-time and I failed. Well, I shouldn't say I failed. It just wasn't consistent and it didn't work. And I got discouraged. That's a real thing that happens. So if any of you guys are considering to start a business, it may not work out the first time or second time or third time, but it's something that you feel very passionate about. You just kind of figure out what you need to do. You make the adjustments and you stick with it. So I opened it up in 2008 for the second time. I registered, and I began to learn from the mistakes I made, and then I began to capitalize on those different things, and I began to make the adjustments. My largest event when I was part-time was a catered event, which I worked with another company for 700 people. It was a military ball in Fort Bragg. I am an established caterer. I'm a personal chef now. I'm an instructor, content creator. The last time I was here, I was a contestant on like a Food Network show competition. I didn't win, but it was a great experience. We have a YouTube channel now, Heaven Leads TV. We have over 380 subscribers, and my goal is to get to 500 before the year ends. You guys, believe it or not, have been instrumental in helping me with the voting the last time I was here, and even subscribing to the YouTube channel, which is super cool. I've grown my businesses and I've learned a lot about, payroll taxes, the importance of delegating, and one of the biggest things that I'm learning now, and if you guys notice, I have a gentleman here with me who is filming this, is the importance of your social media footprint. And I got to be honest with you and tell you that trying to run the business and trying to do social media, they're both like full-time jobs. Those of you guys who post content, who create things and so on and so forth, know that it's a lot to try and get everything together and make it right, because it has to be right, especially when you're doing it from a business standpoint. Because I can talk to you guys, but most people are going to go, they're going to look at the social media, they're going to see the pictures, they're going to see the content, they're going to see what type of professionalism that I have. So it's super, super important to be able to, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, that you have someone or a team or a company or an outfit that you can utilize to help you with that particular piece of it. I use KI, the company, which this is what this gentleman is with. It's his company, but we've also been friends. But I utilize that because it keeps me where I need to be, and it keeps me pointed in the right direction to help my business grow. How I started my business, I started cooking in a local church, and I would invite people over to try my food. So that's another thing. If you have a passion about something, try it out with your friends. See what everybody else is doing. I would just invite people over, and I would make dishes that I learned and just have people come over. It would be an investment, but then I would learn from how they would react, what they would do, what was good, what wouldn't work, what would work. And, I just continued to try. And I catered for very small events for little money. A lot of times I volunteered my time just to kind of get myself out there. I worked at my craft and continued to learn the latest industries and new trends. Today, I'm definitely more intentional in my efforts to maximize my productivity and more deliberate with my delegation. I'm trying to work more on growing my business than working my business, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to make sure I have different things in place that my business grows if I'm doing something like this and not necessarily out physically doing things. Having people work for you, maybe creating different, like a YouTube channel that you can create subscriptions that you can, earn revenue from. by partnering with different companies to utilize their products and generate money those ways. So I'm working on trying to improve in those in particular areas, because nowadays, especially with when COVID happened, when you're in one single line of business, so let's think about it like that. When COVID came, I'm catering, so most of my work is generated through catering large events. But now if I can't do a food for a room like this and you guys can't be here, now I have no money. And I remember when COVID came, a lot of different things shut down. So we had to pivot and we had to change to do our meal prep program, which is one of the different things that we adjusted to, and it worked itself out. And that's still a service that we offer now with our meal preps. But that is something that you want to know, that in business, is that if you have one single line or one single stream, what do you do if that doesn't work, or if that shuts down? How do you adjust to still stay profitable? Path to success. Think about what you're good at, what you're passionate about. This is anybody who's looking at wanting to start a business. Whatever that thing is, research how it's currently being used by people. So one of the things that the company that I work with lets me know is, how are people engaging? What are the different trends now? What is happening? So recently, obviously, I don't know if you guys know this, you probably don't do food shopping or anything like that, but it was a recent spike in egg prices. So what do you do to be able to adjust? How does that affect what it is that I do? And that's information I can give to people that they may be interested in. Different things like that. So you want to constantly be looking at how your craft is currently affecting the current climate right now.